Okay, so there's two things at play here that is not the norm. Okay, there's two things that this court is doing that other courts are doing across the state of Arizona and in that whole district. But there's two. Okay, the protection order / injunction against harassment / aggravated assault. Anything that they consider, they're making this group now. They're making a group of domestic violence related charges, right? So like if you punch your wife, or if you get they're calling them domestic violence charges, right? But they're not charges of domestic violence. Okay, so they're creating a category so that they can use the victim's rights and that they can use the protective orders. Okay, basically what the courts are trying to do is cut out the complaint process, and they want to be able to make the charging document and then have it executed by the cops without any liability either way, and not having them to sign oath or affirmation. They're trying to skip the oath or affirmation part. All right. So just think about this. If you, as the court, can fill out an information that says Lane Myers assaulted his wife, right? But a police, without the wife complaining or any complainant, they have to have a specific person complaining, and somebody has to swear under oath or affirmation, whether the cop goes to a judge and the judge signs the warrant. You know what I mean? Somebody at some point is going to have to do that. Well, what this court is doing, and I'm not speculating, they're actually doing this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But what the court is doing is picking out a person like Lane, writing him up a charging document, having the police execute that charging document, bringing him back to the courts, taking his civil liberties, his freedom, putting him in a jail cell with nobody swearing to it and nobody complaining about it. Yet when it comes to trial, there is going to be a witness. There is going to be a document that says all the same things that it would normally have said if he got arrested and there was a complaining witness and there was people who signed under oath or affirmation of the facts or whatever. But see, they're doing it without that. And it's uncharted territory for two reasons. One, because the whole protection order / domestic violence thing, like Lane even said, he's charged with 3 counts of domestic violence. Those are just 3 counts of harassment, which they consider domestic violence charges, but not charges of domestic violence, right? And with that, if you have a charge of domestic violence, they can get a protection order. With the protection order against you, and they check the box that says no guns, right? So boom, now you are anybody that wants to be or claims to be your victim has rights under the victim's rights, whatever, right? So now the court is completely immune, because as soon as they start the judicial process, they're immune from whatever, right? But now the cop is immune as well, and any victim that's lying or whatever is immune and doesn't even have to do anything. Doesn't have to give it from civil liability. They don't have to give any interviews. Victims' rights are a bitch, and the cop can just ghost, and the courts can just convict you with whatever they have written on that piece of paper that they decided to write that nobody is swearing to. That's what's happening. Okay. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to be able to organize those arguments or thoughts or things that I said, but I can show you how I got to where I'm at. This is why I think the lawyer guy that you just had on, Reluctant Prophet, I think this guy will be able to make sense of what I'm saying to you guys or to somebody. It wouldn't just be like the ironic hypocrisy that this judge is the same one that allowed Lane's all of the evidence against him.
Your attorney before saying anything out loud. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. I have you here on a warrant for your arrest issued by Judge Tracy Miller of the Pima County Superior Court.
Tracy Miller's the Pima County Court. Dude, he just rolled over that shit like cops do. They're like, "Hi, sir. My name is with the office, and you got your license today?" The fuck. Anyways, I've had some time to collect my thoughts. I'm going to give you an example of this happening, because this has happened twice that I know of, and I have documents of it too. But a police officer doesn't like what you're doing or where you're standing or the shirt that you're wearing, and he says, if you don't leave, I'm going to arrest you for disorderly conduct. Disorderly conduct is under their domestic violence category. So, and check this out, this is not a joke. The police officer will arrest you for disorderly conduct and then write his name down as the victim of the disorderly conduct. And if a police officer is a victim of a crime, he has rights under victim's rights, and then he can sign out the victim's rights form after he arrests you for the disorderly conduct that you victimized him with, and then he can actually on paper become a victim and use victims' rights to not answer any interviews, to not even show up for the hearings, and to use anything that he says against you as rock solid evidence, right? And they're doing this, dude. Check it out. Oh yeah, and any bogus or false anything is not to be used against a victim in any case for anything and for any reason ever in their life. Oh, and he also has for life, for the rest of your life, if you get arrested, he by law can get notified without you being notified of his notification of your arrest in future. Think about that.
For offenses alleged to have occurred on December 18th of last year involving kidnapping, domestic violence, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated assault, domestic violence, aggravated assault resulting in temporary.
You hear how he's just tagging on the words domestic violence and then reading the actual charges, right? This is what they're doing.
Substantial disfigurement. I've read the.
I said I had documents, but that's because it's happened to Lane. And this other time, I haven't been able to get the victims' rights one. But I bet you, if you look at the victims' rights forms, I bet you every single cop in that department has at least one or two, dude. I guarantee it.
What's the state's
okay? Back to this now. My bad. Sorry, my bad.
The state's substantial disfigurement. I've read the pretrial services report for you, noting that you are a 4 and a 2 respectively on the NCA FTA scales, and also note that there is a Department of Corrections hold in this matter. What's the state's position on conditions of release?
Along with what I was saying, the courts are basically doing this with the cops. You know what I mean? So the state is going to be confused, and he's only going to know what he reads. And what is he going to read? Oh, it's a protection order with guns. So we're going to ask for the max. You know what I mean? It's like a right hand, left hand thing.
The state's requesting the court honor the $50,000 grand jury warrant. He's got a violent prior. He was on parole for a weapons offense. It looks like this offense, from when I looked up the matter, involved a firearm.
Services report for you, noting that you are a 4 and a 2 respectively on the NCA FTA scales, and also note that there is a Department of Corrections hold in this matter.
It would still work the same way without the Department of Corrections hold. I mean, that's just a detail that doesn't matter, but it would still, the process would still be the same.
What's the state's position on conditions of release?
The state's requesting the court honor the $50,000 grand jury warrant.
I want the court to honor its own warrant that it issued and also somehow executed. We're just going to let the courts do it. fuck my position. What's happening here, right? They issued they put out the information of these charges and then accepted it on their own behalf, and then how you still got to sign an arrest warrant, right? Well, since you've already got, you know what I mean, and now the arrest warrant can be issued after everything. You know what I'm saying?
That may
nobody is
date of incident.
Put it okay. Look here.
Again, and looking at that pending felony.
But again, he wouldn't know because he's just looking at paperwork that he didn't file.
It's very concerning charges as well as allegations in this matter.
Okay, thank you. Defense.
Your Honor, he's already being held, as the state noted, on a DOC hold. He already has a $100,000 bond, which was imposed back in March. I'm not sure if the DOC hold was present back in March. However, even if he was able to pay the $100,000 somehow, he couldn't get out. So I have employment as a full-time as a barber, Your Honor. So given all those factors, we'd be asking for no more than a $10,000 bond.
Thank you. I'm going to honor Judge Miller's bond, $50,000.
I'm just going to honor my, friend's bond that she made up with and that she came up with and had him, we're just going to honor each other because we're honorable, right? Oh, you know what's funny? This guy, this judge or whatever you want to call him, was a construction worker before he was a judge. Let's recap. In the very beginning, he said, you are brought here on charges from Tracy Miller's blah, 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 blah. And then a whole bunch of blah, 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 blah. And then the state is like, well, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and stick with what the grand jury indictment said, which is the exact same piece of information. It's literally called an information, right? So they're going to stick with that, which is Judge Tracy Miller, right? And then here right now, he just said, after the defense was like, we're going to go for $10,000 because he's got guns and stuff. And then the judge said, you know what? We're just going to stick with what Tracy said. So 3 times, all 3 stages that are supposed to, you know what I mean? There's supposed to be some kind of check of, what the fuck. All of them are just all bypassed by one single document that Tracy drew up herself. This is what's happened. This has happened to Lane Myers. We witnessed it. There is a paper trail from hell. All the disclosure that Lane has proves this is happening, right? But there's no precedence for it. Please, sunglasses lawyer Michael or whatever, help me explain this to everybody. The fact that it's happening this way is horribly just egregious on its own, but also too, this is even worse because with the victims' rights and the order of protection, there literally is no protection, or there's no retribution, or was it there's no punishment for anybody that's lying or anybody that filed anything falsely, and then there's no repercussion. There's nothing you can do can make the cop change his mind or get him fucking. There's no perjury possible because nobody's been under oath. There's nothing. There's nowhere it can go except you go to jail. Period. All right, here we go. Okay, so I got a records request. It's Maricopa County's Victims' Rights Handbook, but it's the same shit, dude. And I realized I'm just going to be looking at showing you the categories now. There's 87 pages of this, which I've been through it all. It just gets worse and worse. But I'm going to show you the categories just so you doesn't seem like I'm just like talking out of my beehole here, okay? Victims' rights to refuse interview. Victims' rights to privacy exceptions. Let's see. Victims' discretion from statement. So they can make a statement and just, whatever. Oh yeah, dude, this is another one. Civil action. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, petitions, venue fees. They can literally charge you, look right here. Expenses of investigation. They can literally charge you for whatever they want that they say is part of the investigation. Look, here's some other fucking lovely ones. Here we go. Come on. There are matters of notice of arrest. Every time you get arrested, they get notified. If you get released or discharged from a mental hospital, or a victims conference with prosecuting attorney anytime they want. Here's another one. They impact statement, of course. Yeah. What's the other one here? Probation, victim's discretion from statement. I already said that. Here, the right to refuse an interview, applicability, which is anytime they want, basically. Victims' rights to privacy exception / blah, blah, blah. Literally, they can just say something and then, anyways. Yeah, there's 87 of these, dude. And it just goes into more detail, but the details are just make it even broader of a scope. I don't know if you remember Lane Myers' camera on a stick day when he went down there to go serve some shit, and then like nine fucking detectives and fucking whatever came swarming out of the fucking walls and shit, and he was like, "What are you afraid of, a camera on a stick?" He's like, "You ever been attacked with a camera on a stick?" Right? Okay, so he got arrested for disorderly conduct, right? That day. This is one of the documents. Look at all those words, and then the cop's name is blacked out, right? Why? You know what I'm saying? Took a picture of my TV because there's the only way I could pause it because it was scrolled by so quickly by whoever. Anyways, this is it. Look, it's on the top. Victims' rights request, yes. Victim provided with the blue form, yes. Right? And then, so look at this. It says the author of the piece of paper is Saul, whoever. Look at this. The victim, disorderly conduct, blah, blah, blah. Location, blah, 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 blah. Pima County Legal Services is the victim. Really? Okay, so now, okay, here we go. So this one is, Pima County, the same thing. Same thing, right? So now, after this gets filled out and you become the victim on paper, you want to see what the rest of the papers are going to look like? Like, for example, that I showed you that arresting officer just a second ago, he had his name blacked out, right? of the whole incident report. So all those words can be used against you, but just not his name. Now, when you go to get all his information, right, because you want to get him civilly or whatever, or find out anything, they look like this. That's the same. That's the guy. Terry Regan. I know some of you probably have already thought this, but you're like, okay, well, if that's the case, then how are we going to use this in court then, you know? If I can't use it, you can't use it, then it didn't happen, right? Well, see where it says author Sal Moreno or whatever, right? At the very top right there. So that's a cop that's going to say, well, I have no idea what it is, but I mean, yes, I swear and affirm that it's true or it's there or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Again, I think we can all see what's happening.
Secured, and also order that if Mr. Alvarez is able to post that bond, that he be released to the custody of pretrial services, and that further he's not to possess any firearms or weapons and surrender any firearms that's already in his possession, and that he submit to any treatment or monitoring as ordered by pretrial services. I'm also going to order that Mr. Alvarez have no contact with the alleged victim.
Alleged victim. So they do know that word, alleged victim. What a fucking crock of shit.
Go to their place of residence. I'm going to set a hearing for this matter on April the 16th at 1:30 at the Superior Court. So, Mr. Alvarez, you're not going to be released, and if you are released, please make sure you contact your attorney as soon as possible and be present for your arraignment on the 16th. That's all, sir. You're excused.
Hello.
Probation matters, as well as the pending, looks like there's also a pending DD matter. Looks like there's also a pending DD matter. Looks like there's also a pending DD matter.
DV matter, disco video, dumbass vision, dicks and vaginas. Nope, domestic violence. He's trying to, it's a DV matter, a domestic violence matter. Give me a break, dude.
It looks like they all involve the same alleged victim.
Defense.
This guy is an alleged kitty diddler. Now let's see how they treat him.
Sir, I am going to order a bond. I'm going to order a bond of $500. That'll be cash or secured. If you are able to post that, you will be released to pretrial services. You'll have to submit to monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial services. You may possess or consume no alcohol or illegal drugs. You may not possess any firearms or weapons. No contact with the alleged victims. You may not go to her residence or her workplace. You may not return to the incident location. Your next court.
No DV matter? You didn't DV matter this guy and fucking say he has firearms so you can arrest him? What the fuck, dude? He's playing with little kids.
At 1:30.